Hello, this is Cotton Stoops, and welcome back to another Lumi Legacy HTUC video. And today's video is on the second Uber, and that is on Cephalops. Cephalops has been a driving force in the metagame ever since it came out. While it was in a few metagames, it did eventually get banned to Ubers. So this is what I'm here to talk about. This is how to use and counter Cephalops. From counters and checks, to the many variations of sets it can run, to weaknesses, resistances, and immunities, as well as the many roles Cephalops can play on a team. This video is basically everything you need to know on how to use and counter Cephalops. And the first thing you should know is the role that Cephalops plays, and this question is easily answered by its base stats. Its base stats are pretty simple because, well, its melee defense, range defense, and speed might seem pretty bad. Its speed tier is on par with stuff like Cephalops and Himber, so yeah, it's pretty slow. And it does have pretty mid-looking melee and range defenses of 64 and 69. Funny number. And we do have a good melee attack set of 96, while we won't be using it that much. If you do want to not use melee attack. But the main important things, it is monstrous HP stat of 154, it's really good energy stat of 96, and 119 range attack. This range attack actually puts it on par with stuff like Zeppelin, Wintrix, Eclipse, and it's kind of on par with stuff like Valkyrie as well, so that's pretty good. And it's monstrous HP stat. I'm pretty sure it's either tied or one of the highest HP stats in the game, making its defenses look very menacingly. And its 96 energy, while not being the best compared to other roamers, it is definitely a good energy stat which allows Cephalops to throw out a lot of moves. So, what role does Cephalops play? Well, basically it's a bulky and strong Loomian. It has a lot of potential to switch in because of its bulk, obviously, and because of what moves Cephalops has. It allows Cephalops to be a very scary Loomian in offenses wise and utility wise, which I'll be talking about later. So yeah, so with that out of the way, let's talk about Cephalops' weaknesses and resistances. So let's get along with that. So Cephalops' typing of Dark and Water is actually pretty decent. It does have 5 resistances to Water, Ice, Spirit, Metal, and Mind. Mind types like Meditoad, Ferroglyph are pretty good mind types to switch in on, as well as the Cosmiors and Shachi. Metal types like Valkyrie, Stratosaur, Tyrex, Protagon are some good metal types you can also switch in on. Spirit types like Vesperatu, Harvesect are some good spirit types you can switch on, as well as Revenine. Ice types are pretty good to switch on as well. Mainly Himber and Himber and Tundrelin are good stuff to switch in on as well, because they do have weaknesses to abuse with your range attack. And water types like Barblast, Luminami, you can't switch in on them, but do remember that they are water types as well, or you are a water type, so you're not going to be hitting pretty hard with Tsunami, but you will be hitting hard with your Soul Drain. And you do have 5 weaknesses as well to Plant, Light, Electric, Toxic, and Bug. Bug types like Harvesect is pretty much the only bug type you should be concerned about because it's the only common one, and I guess Swolder. Toxic types, like I said, Swolder, Venolin, Snagoop, and Barblast, you should be watching out for those. Electric types, but wait, I remember that Cephalops does have a high HP stat, so while you are weak to some of these Loomians, most of the time it's a very good matchup in your favor because of your high bulk and Soul Drain, so yeah. And electric types is mainly Zulang as well as Joltooth you should be watching out for. While you can tank one hit, it's generally not recommended to go up against them because they're either gonna live the hit that you throw out, and then they're just gonna one hit KO after. And light types are generally your main weakness because most of the light types like Valkyrie, Phagenot with Flash and Flee, Nemare are really hard hitting light types. And plant types like Totab, not really recommended, but I guess you can try it. You do have to invest a lot of melee defense. So yeah, with that out of the way, let's talk about the Cephalops set. So let's get along with that. Cephalops' set is mainly very good. You do have the ability of Bloodsucker and Nightmarish. Nightmarish is especially if you want to run Hypnotize. And of course, Hypnotize is not really the best because, well, it's getting nerfed soon to a Yawn version from Pokemon. And Bloodsucker doesn't boost your damage of your draining moves, I'm pretty sure that's what it is. So overall, Bloodsucker is a pretty good ability, I recommend that more, and it's a lot more free to play. Personality would be smart, and you can choose to run Frail or not. Without running Frail, it actually does help you out with some matchups, which I'll be talking about later. And for the moves, you can run a mixture of Frost Beam, Tsunami, Soul Drain, Square 1, Hypnotize, Icicle Traps. It has a lot of move options, and I guess Aqua Jaws too. It has a lot of move options, especially Frost Beam, because right now Harvestect is kind of common, and plant types, so it might help you out a bit more, but generally it's only for bug types, so Frost Beam's not really the best, but all the other moves have reasonable reasons to use other than Icicle Traps. And of course, you do have your items of choices: Choice of Shell and Essence, Drain Orb, the Energy Orb, and Power Cups. The reason why I say Energy Orb is because, well, Cephalops' energy set is really good. You can input this Energy Orb on Cephalops, making Cephalops a really good Loomian to use a lot of moves with, especially spamming Hypnotize, Square 1, as well as spreading Icicle Traps around, so that's pretty good. And also, of course, stalling the opponent in the 1v1 scenario with Soul Drain. Power Cups are also pretty good, but generally not recommended because you can put it on something that can hit a lot harder, like a Hunter or a Zulong. And Choice of Shell and Essence, mainly these choice items is if you do have other stuff that will be occupying the Drain Energy Orb or Power Cups, and of course Drain Orb because Soul Drain. And finally, the TPs. Now, you already see what these TPs are for. 120 melee attack without the brawny or frail personality lets you 3-hit KO a Cetamars with an Aqua Jaw. This also helps you out with a 2-hit KO, around a 2-hit KO from a Venolin, so that's pretty good. 120 in melee defense, actually, I'm pretty sure that this is leftovers, as well as the melee attack. 200 range attack is pretty obvious. 88 range defense lets you live a very smart brute force Zulong Thunder Strike. If the Zulong is electric essence, you're not gonna live. 32 speed outspeeds a 0 speed sluggish Obsidian. So yeah, you do have to watch out for non-sluggish ones because they are common. And 60 energy lets you use, I'm pretty sure, like 2 tsunamis and a mixture of 3 soul drains, I'm pretty sure, and with your other moves that I said earlier. So yeah, with that out of the way, let's talk about Cephalops' counters and checks and its teammates, so let's get along with that. Offensive counters and checks to Cephalops are pretty simple. You mainly want to run stuff that can, of course, hit it super effectively on its range defense side or melee defense side, depending on the Cephalops' set. You want to run plant types and light types and electric types like Totab, Nemore, Eclipse, Valkyrie, and Zulong. These are all really good Loomians because they can all hit pretty hard. Eclipse is probably the best one out of all of these because Eclipse can be immune to Soul Drain, and of course it does have decent enough range defense to tank hits from a Tsunami in a 1v1 scenario. Nemore, Valkyrie, Zulong are a lot more scarier options because while they are light and electric types, they do get hit pretty hard by Tsunami or Soul Drain, but it's Zulong cases, it actually isn't. I'm pretty sure it's neutral to all of its moves, so Zulong does have a bit more of a comfortable matchup. And Totab might be actually a really good answer compared to these guys because Totab is pretty good on the melee attack side, and most Cephalopses aren't running a lot of melee defense, so that's going to help you out. And of course, the defensive counters and checks to Cephalops are pretty simple. You want to run stuff that can hit it super effectively and resist most of its moves. You want to run Harvestect, Venolin, Swolder, Vesperatu, and Barblast. Bulky Vesperatu sets are especially deadly on this one. And Barblast, while not being the best answer because Cephalops actually does beat it in a 1v1, as long as you chip down Cephalops enough, Barblast is going to be having a field day with it. Venolin is pretty good until the Cephalops runs Aqua Jaws. Harvestect is pretty good until it runs Frost Beam as well as Swolder. Harvesect can't switch in all the time because it doesn't have Rejuvenate or any form of recovery outside of Parasitize. So yeah, and with that out of the way, let's get along with the offensive teammates you can run with Cephalops. They're pretty simple as well. You want to run guys that can hit super effectively the stuff that welds by Cephalops. Ferroglyph is a lot better because, well, it can hit Bar Blast. I'm pretty sure it can hit Bar Blast, Harvesect, and Venilin, as well as Vesperatu, all super effectively with a combination of Shrewd Blast, Psycho Blast, and a lot more. Zeppelin, Ticlips, Valkyrie, Mocho all have their own gimmicks. Valkyrie can take out the spirit types and pretty much break all the Cephalops defensive answers, but then again, Valkyrie is falling off a bit. Ticlips is pretty good for anything because it does have that dark type immunity and light type immunity. Zeppelin and Mocho, they're all pretty good as well because they can hit Harvesect, Soldier super effectively, and Mocho can hit Deep Freezes against a Bar Blast, which is super effective. And the defensive teammates for Cephalops are a lot more simple as well. You can run a mixture of a lot of defensive Loomians because generally these defensive Loomians are pretty good anywhere else. Cephalops fits very well in semi-stall and stall teams because it hits really hard, and of course you can stall out a lot of opponents, and it is pretty bulky. So running a mixture of these walls and a bunch of other walls, they're pretty good for Cephalops. So yeah, with that out of the way, let's talk about the conclusion and my closing thoughts on Cephalops. So let's get along with that. So overall, I think Cephalops is a pretty good Loomian. While I don't think it's probably the best out of all the Ubers, I do think it's a really strong Uber. It's probably, after the nerfs, it's probably going to be the 4th or 5th best because Metronet might be falling down to the OU tier, so it's probably going to be the 3rd best above Swirl. So overall, I think Cephalops is a pretty good Loomian. Because of its bulk, Cephalops can fit in a lot of very good teams, especially semi-stall teams as well as stall and hyper offense, or not hyper offense, but generally bulky teams, which Cephalops fits very well in. And of course that just so happens to be a really common theme in the past metagames, which is pretty good. And Cephalops overall offers a lot of damage, offers a lot of 1v1 winnability with Soul Drain, and it's just a really good Loomian. So with that out of the way, like the video and subscribe if you want to see more of these videos. Join the Discord, and of course, Zulong is still a dumpster fire.